You're listening to episode 24 of Post Production Podcast. Hello and welcome all you amazing people out there to Post Production Podcast. Thank you for joining us as we talk about the latest in movies and TV. I'm your host, Mr. Drew, and here with me, of course, is my co-host, Adam.
Yes, I'm back. How are you, Drew?
I am swell, Mr. Adam.
Swell.
How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing good.
Are you peachy?
Good. Just peachy, yeah.
Just peachy?
Exactly.
No plums, just
peachy.
Just nice peach. There we go. All right, so we're just going to delve right into it. So last week, we talked about
the original
Pacific Rim, which you saw for the first time and really enjoyed.
Yeah. Pleasant surprise,
yeah. So that was the week that the sequel came out, Pacific Rim Uprising.
Yes,
which
so
is
this
set,
past weekend.
Yeah, which is set 10 years, I think, later.
10 years
than
later.
The original.
So we have John Boyega playing Jake Pentecost, son of Idris Elba's character, General Pentecost, or
Commander Pentecost, whatever.
Commander,
yeah.
Whatever. And it's about 10 years later, and he's making a living off of, stealing parts of decommissioned Jaegers, which is kind of odd. But yeah, so that's kind of where he's at. He's not really in the Jaeger program anymore. He meets this teenage girl. What's her name? Amara, yeah. She is kind of says she's a hacker. I don't know about that, but she makes her own.
She's a junkyard rat.
Yeah.
She's. Are we doing like full spoilers?
We'll do a slightly short synopsis sort of and just kind of our general thoughts.
Okay.
And then, all right. So anyway, they meet up, get caught by the police, and then end up back in the Jaeger program. And guess who's back? The kaiju. Somehow.
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah, I kind of.
There's a different threat.
There's a different threat, and there's I actually thought it was a pleasant twist to how this thing comes back. I thought it was a really cool kind of neat way that they did it, because I was just going, okay, so like maybe there's just another rift or something and whatnot. But it was an interesting way.
Because as we know, in the last movie, in the original movie, they save the day. They close the kind of gateway to the other alien world, and the kaiju's, they're not coming anymore.
Yeah.
So somehow
everything's hunky dory.
Exactly. So 10 years later, and there's a new threat. This time, and you kind of see this in the trailers. There's Jaegers fighting Jaegers, and you're kind of wondering what's going on with that. Yeah. So Shao has this corporation that is trying to kind of make Jaegers obsolete by doing completely like kind of remote controlled like drones. Even though there's not really any Jaegers, it was kind of like there was no real reason for the drones to be. Well,
I mean, the interesting thing is they touched upon this premise in the first one where, the Jaegers are so large and so, I guess, complicated as far as machines go that it takes two pilots to pilot the Jaeger, which I thought was kind of a weak it
doesn't really make a lot of sense.
It's a machine.
You've really gotta kind of stretch your imagination and be like, okay, that's fine.
So, but the I guess the issue is A, training the pilots, B, getting them to be compatible enough to share. They have to share like this mental link, which can be problematic, and then them being able to do that in a positive way, so that the Jaeger functions at its capacity, because it seems to me that like the weaker the connection between the two pilots, the shittier that they can pilot the actual robot. Yeah. Which, I mean, the whole thing just is very inconvenient and just inconsistent.
Exactly.
And just, whatever. So you have Li Wen Shao, who's the head of this Shao Corporation, and she's pushing to basically automate and turn these Jaegers into drones, piloted remotely.
So she's doing this, and she's kind of she wants to get rid of the Jaegers as we know them, and she, just like every movie, this corporation that's trying to take over the kind of industry, So that's her kind of thing. And then we have what's his name, Charlie Day, right? As Dr. Newton.
Yeah.
He is working for her now. 10 years later, and
both the crazy doctors are back from the first one.
Yeah.
Herman Gottlieb, played by Bern Gorman, he's still working with the Jaeger people, kind of, trying to push some kind of weird. He has some weird kind of projects that he's working on. And then Charlie Day, played by or Dr. Newton Giesler, played by Charlie Day, who's working for the Chow Corporation.
Yeah, and then we have Mako back, played by Rinko Kikuchi. She's back from the first one. As we know, she was kind of the adopted daughter of General Pentecost, Idris Elba's character. And then, so she's kind of a sister to John Boyega. Yeah. So their relationship is kind of explored, but not really. I wish there was a little bit more. It was, Well,
it's the typical, John Boyega's character Jake is playing this rebel, this kind of anti-authority figure person. He's just kind of exploiting what he can and living off of what he can, which is, of course, going to be a disappointment to his big sister, who's the head of this now Jaeger, program for the military. So, it's ticking off all the boxes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yes, strained family. Yes, daddy issues. Yes, struggling to prove himself to a dead hero, check.
Trying to live up to that name. Yeah. So all of
wrangled back into the program he hates, check.
Exactly. Yeah. And then exactly. So him and Amara get caught running from the kind of police, and she's made her own little scrapper Jaeger. This like kind of mini Jaeger compared to which I didn't mind. Like that was
I love the little robot. I love the way though they made it happen. I don't want to kind of like spoil anything about it, but I thought it was one of the
highlights.
The highlights of the movie, definitely.
So anyway, they get caught, and then they're like, basically you can go to jail, or you can kind of do the way better thing of going to the academy and working for us there, which is not much of a choice. It's like,
it's like, you got skills, son, come work for us or go to jail. Well, gee, if you put it that way,
anyway, so and they're training this kind of young generation of Jaeger pilots for some reason, even though they don't really need them because the kaiju aren't there.
Well, the kaiju aren't there, but they
just in case.
I think they very loosely, and I wouldn't say this is a spoiler, but there's this kind of loose plot point where people are building their own Jaegers from all these parts, and they're there to kind of police those people from doing that.
That's true, because that's what they
kind of the only sort of whatever. And then you have your naysayers who are the Jaeger, the kaiju are going to be back, but whatever.
And then some madness ensues, some twists along the way, which get kind of crazy. So I think we'll leave it there for non-spoilers. But generally, like, what did you think? Let's start out with like your favorite parts, like just general. What did you like about the movie?
In general, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was fun. There's definitely a difference between the first and the second one. But as far as I think the spirit of the movie is the same. It was fun. It's big robots fighting.
Yeah.
It was a little bit more kind of, action fest, I think.
Yeah.
And all that.
It was very 2018 blockbuster.
Yeah, definitely 2018.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. There's definitely some issues with it. You can tell the difference in the quality of the movie from the director, although being the first major picture debut of Stephen S. DeKnight, I can't fault him for it's a quality movie. It's a decent quality movie.
Yeah, it's a decent movie
for an action robot fighting movie. Yeah, it could have sucked hard. It really could have sucked hard. It could have just been abysmal and just whatever. But I had fun. I enjoyed it.
Because there are a lot of these movies, a lot of these kind of blockbuster whatever movies. Like we have Rampage coming out later this month. You're excited for it.
I'm excited for it.
Oh man,
it just ticks my nostalgic box because I grew up playing Rampage. I mean, it's just.
But it's just going to be a bunch of destruction and
oh yeah, I mean, it's a guilty pleasure movie.
But see, yeah. But anyway,
and that's what I think that's what a lot of these are. You can't. I can't look at the first Pacific Rim and go, oh yeah, man, this is just like one of the best dramas I've ever, it's not. It's an action. It's a guilty pleasure action movie.
That's good.
It's something to pop in and go, yeah, man, I just want to watch something senseless and fun.
Exactly.
And kind of tick away a couple hours of my life, which is exactly what this sequel is.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that Rampage is the same because it'll be fun to watch a big gorilla and alligator and a flying wolf for some reason.
Yeah, of course, the wolf flies. But yeah, so like with this Pacific Rim, like it does kind of carry that same kind of vibe and the mood that the first Pacific Rim kind of brings. And I think it's exactly what a sequel would be. Mm-hmm. How can you make this kind of plot more ridiculous almost?
I thought the plot was fantastic as far as.
I wouldn't say fantastic. I would say.
Well, I mean, for an expectation of what I thought mm-hmm. Where it would go, I liked. Yeah, the reasoning behind everything, and we can't talk more until we get into spoilers.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, right on, man. Like I wasn't expecting it, and I loved where it went. And I was like, okay, cool. This is cool.
Yeah.
All
right.
As many holes that it has in it, and the way that they kind of presented and wrapped it up.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best, but as far as this is the catalyst of what's going on, and I'm like. All right, cool. Yeah. That makes 100 times more sense than a lot of the other things I could have thought of. You know,
I mean, yeah, I guess, but like with if we're, I'd rather watch this than like a Transformers or something like that.
Oh, because, by far.
Yeah, by like a million times. Yeah, like just because like this technology, this world is more intriguing to me than a Transformers or one of those other movies. So I'll give it that. Yeah, it was just kind of a big, dumb robot movie. And it was exactly what it should be. Nothing more. Maybe a little less, but it was okay. I walked out of there like, all right. Like, I'm not disappointed, but also I didn't have a lot of expectations. So...
for me, I went in with like severely low expectations.
Yeah, I was just kind of like... All right, this looks like it could be a good time.
Well, and a couple things. I'm not really a John Boyega fan.
You mentioned that.
He's growing on me. He is definitely growing on me.
He did well.
I really hated him in Force Awakens. I absolutely hated him in Force Awakens. I don't really have anything.
But that's
specific.
His character.
It was just it is. So it just kind of like ticked on a nerve. But I actually kind of enjoyed him in this.
Yeah, he was a lot more fun.
He was fun. His writing was actually, I thought, pretty good. A lot of the little quips and the little funny things that he does, he delivered them well. And it was like, I was like, all right, man, this guy's fun. This guy's a lot of fun. But anywho.
So going into that, though, the comedy in this movie... For me, I feel like it was kind of weirdly timed. It would be like serious for a second regarding like two characters, say him and like Scott Eastwood. They would kind of be bickering and stuff like that. I feel like in like one scene, the mood would kind of change. It's hard to kind of follow what they were trying to really do. If they were trying to make that like a serious moment.
The relationship between him and Scott Eastwood's character was weird.
It didn't make any sense,
and
because
I'm going to explore that on spoilers.
Yeah,
because it was.
There are a few relationships in here that just don't make sense. Yeah. There's conflict in this between characters that don't make any sense, and then there's also relationships between characters that are they're like strong bonds, which you're like, where did that come from? Where like you guys don't even know each other, but. overall, like, I wasn't disappointed. Do you think there's going to be a sequel?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They left it open.
If it does well in the box office, if it makes money,
well,
they'll regurgitate the third one out.
It's number one on the box office. It finally dethroned Black Panther, which is kind of crazy after like 4 or 5 weeks.
4 weeks,
which is awesome. I mean, good for Black Panther. But yeah, Pacific Rim, Uprising.
Go see it.
No.
You're not gonna say that.
I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna
go to a matinee.
That's what I did. I went to a matinee.
Go to a matinee. I was like, definitely don't IMAX 3D yourself into a $30 ticket.
But you know what? For this one, I have to say, because I don't go and get like popcorn and like candy and stuff for like a lot of movies. I'll just go and watch it. Mm-hmm. But this time, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. Just kind of enjoy myself. This is a popcorn movie, and so I gotta go get some popcorn, get a drink, get some candy, just kind of hang out, and yeah, that was exactly what it was.
That's cool.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it needs to be.
I pretty much absolutely never get food.
Yeah. So I almost never do.
I just balk at the prices.
It's like $20 later.
Yeah. It's like, my ticket was $6.50
for anything.
And I spent $30 at the concession stand for like a drink and one other thing. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway. All right, so spoilers.
Yeah, big spoilers.
Spoilers for Pacific Rim Uprising. So robot kaiju, huh?
You know what? I enjoyed how they twisted the movie. Because at first, when that rogue Jaeger came out, I was like, all right, cool. Yeah. And the interesting thing is I like how they animated that Jaeger because it moved better, more fluid, and it actually moved like it was a giant person that was just bigger.
Yeah, they definitely made that comparison.
It didn't seem like it moved like a robot, like a big clunky robot, like a lot of the Jaegers move on the military side, with the two pilots. So I was kind of like, that's kind of like, I noticed that right off the bat. I was like, this thing's moving pretty good.
Yeah.
And then, the two Yahoos and the Gypsy Danger, whatever.
Yep. What is it? Gypsy Danger's back.
Yeah, and it's the only robot named after a strip dancer.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
But anyways,
good thing they kept that.
Yeah, but I liked how that went, and then I actually thought that it was the girl. I knew it was automated, and I knew it was.
Well, you knew it was.
I knew it was the girl that was manipulating everything. I was like, all right, cool. That's probably one of her little drones, and she wants to kill Mako to push her agenda, and blah blah blah. But then it was all Newton and that twist, and I was like, right on, man. This is that was perfect.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. That's why I liked it so much.
When he came to his hotel room or his house or whatever, and he kind of hooks himself up to this kaiju brain, I'm like, what the hell? What is this movie?
Well, that made sense to me because I figured it was probably like, cocaine 1,000 times better. It was just some euphoric thing that he was basically just addicted to.
Yeah. And then he didn't realize that his mind was being taken over by the kaiju.
Yeah.
And they're planning their revenge through him, which, it was a very kind of weird kind of a twist that, I was not expecting, but I don't know if that was necessarily the best route they could have gone.
I thought it was, I was kind of like, all right, cool, man. That threw me for a loop, and it made sense. Like, for me, it made sense. It was like, okay, this makes sense to me more than they just open another rift for some other reason, which makes sense, but it would have been the weakest.
It would have been just like, oh, okay, so this just happens again.
Yeah, okay.
So what you did in the first one, that big epic fight, whole thing.
It didn't amount to anything.
It didn't really do anything. So, and I like that they had to kind of force a rift this time. Like, these kaiju robot Jaeger, like, hybrids, they all kind of link up, and they try to create different rifts across the Pacific Rim. And that was interesting to me. That was like an interesting plot point.
Now, did you like the fact that once the plot to overtake the drones came over, that they sort of morphed? You know, they kind of grew spikes and sprouted and like turned into these, you know.
Yeah, it was very cartoonish, but it was, you know, it was enjoyable. It was like, all right, this is kind of interesting. This is cool. Whatever.
I'm glad it only did it a little bit. Like, it just kind of like was like, boom, hey, this is
just kind of the limbs. And
it's just, okay, we're going to make a distinction of these are the bad guys. Yeah. I like that it didn't just turn into bubbly tentacles exploding, you know, amorphous kind of blobs and then whatever, you know, which tends to happen with rapidly whatever.
But yeah, I did like that they had to kind of create this rift, and it ended up they ended up not being as successful as they wanted to, even though 3 kaiju did come through the different rifts. I liked how they showed it closing like in the middle of the kaiju coming up,
and it just got chopped.
It just gets chopped in half, and it was kind of interesting because like it was open enough for it to get through, but then it just closes. Like, whereas the first movie, it takes them like the whole point of the movie is to close the rift. So then it's kind of a question of how that all works, you know, like how can they just open it and like close it basically automatically. It was kind of, I feel like that wasn't explained a whole lot, but I mean,
well, I think, I mean, if I was to spitball it, I think that from the first one, that specific point where the rift was a weakness between the barriers of those dimensions or those worlds or whatever.
So it wasn't
and that's what they exploited. It wasn't really a physical thing. Where in this one, they're forcing and tearing open that rift,
basically which 2 dimensions,
which, you know, it's automatically going to close because that's its natural state, and you're forcing it open. You know, like you're trying to hold open an automatic door, which is trying to close itself. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I would call it.
But yeah, so we got 3 kaiju kind of coming in, and they're like, "Hey, young generation of Jaeger pilots, let's go! You know, you're up
because we're going to Mount Fuji."
We're going to Mount Fuji because that's what they want. They want Fuji.
They want Mount Fuji.
Because as the doc said earlier, kaiju blood is highly reactive to rare earth elements. It's like, wow, that's vague. That's as vague as you could get.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
So Mount Fuji, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's active. Okay, whatever. So I was assuming that the whole point of the doomsday of the movie would be that the big, huge kaiju that... Okay, wait, hold on. Let's backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
I kind of want to go on this in a progressive way because it gradually gets worse until the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, okay, let's backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
You know, John Boyega's character I liked.
Okay.
You know, I you know, his funny stuff was cool. It was a little lighthearted. It was misplaced in a lot of you know kind of instances.
It was kind of weirdly timed.
It was okay. I liked the girl Amara. I thought she was cool.
She was a bit annoying to me.
A bit annoying. I don't know how someone so young would be like. There was no reason for her to be this kind of crazy genius for 15. But then, they get caught together and somehow form a bond that, I mean, it was so kind of forced. Like, 1 minute they're like arguing in a jail cell. The next they're like, I don't know. It was kind of a weird relationship that kind of just sprouted out of nothing. A little weak.
Yeah. But then she gets to the Jaeger Academy and... There's this like German girl who's just like is just hating on her for like no reason.
Russian.
Oh, Russian, yeah.
Russian girl.
Some aggressive like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's just what it is. That's the stereotypical Russians are angry people, and that they're just always going to be angry people.
It was absolutely just the weakest thing, and I was just going like, and also like towards the end when their relationship kind of. they fix whatever problem they had, even though they didn't have a problem in the beginning. Like, it was so weak, and there was just nothing that happened in the movie that caused the confrontation, that solved the confrontation. The confrontation between them was absolutely unnecessary, and whenever they were on screen, I was like, seriously, can we move past this? Because I'm not interested in either one of these characters enough to really care. Yeah, let's move on.
Now, okay, so you have Scott Eastwood, who plays Nate Lambert, and for all intents and purposes, he's basically running this Jaeger program. And even though whatever Mako is the boss, Scott Eastwood is basically running this program, and him and John Boyega's character have, I guess, a little bit of history, and which they don't specify. They
don't dive into at all, but basically they were kind of the younger generation of Jaeger pilots coming up, and their differences kind of, forced them apart. And he became like the head of this Jaeger program, and while John Boyega went and did his own thing.
The interesting thing, because this wasn't your stereotypical, this didn't check any boxes. Because what I thought was weird,
on the surface it did.
Well, on the surface it did, but as you kind of watch this thing play out, like the relationship between these two guys, it would typically be, John's the rebel who has all the potential and skill, but doesn't want to do it and is forced to do it. Scott Eastwood is in the position, runs the position, has been like the rock steady person, and absolutely hates John for basically just throwing away his gifts. That's the typical setup in all of these scenarios that have always been in movies.
Which is kind of like the whole point of the first one.
Right. And which is how it ticked off in the first one. In this one, like, John Boyega could give a shit about Scott Eastwood's character. Like, he was just like, whatever, dude, I don't care. Like,
he's like, I don't even want to be here.
Yeah, I don't even want to be here. So we're both on that right track. And Eastwood's character, instead of just being like aggressive and like just anti-John all the time, he was like the more mature of both of them. And it was just weird because he's just like patient and mature. And I was just going, wait, what?
It was weird because they tried to make him that kind of like confrontational, like opposition to John Boyega's character, but then he wasn't. Like they set it up that way, but then he just wasn't. Yeah. So it was like, there's another relationship that didn't even make any sense, but they all saved the day at the end, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, whatever.
I want to talk about Mako for a second.
Okay.
Because she's in there for like 2 seconds, and then she dies.
Yep.
And that's it. And it's funny because I remember seeing like a featurette or something that it was her, and she was like, oh yeah, I can't wait to, play this character again. She's so interesting and so dynamic and whatever.
For 5 minutes.
I'm like, and then she's in there for 5 minutes and then just dies like the most like boring death. I'm like, really?
But it was a box that had to be checked because she had to die to get Boyega's character off his ass,
I guess. And then what's his name? Charlie Hunnam's character was not in this movie at all. They mention him, and he mentions him like in his speech for a brief moment. He does.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
But that's the only mention of him, and you don't really get any.
Oh, the speech at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You don't get
as a dead hero. Yeah.
Well, you don't get any confirmation that he's dead. Actually.
Oh yeah, that's right. Huh?
He just says like, he did this in the past, and this is what he and Mako and my dad like fought for. But that's all it said. There was no confirmation that he's alive or dead. And I watched this kind of interview with the director, and he was like, well, yeah, actually, we didn't want to specify what happened because...
They're going to leave it open for the third one.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. They're going to leave it open because Charlie Hunnam was not available for filming. He was filming something else at the same time.
Oh.
So it was kind of a scheduling conflict. And I mean, I don't really care because he was pretty horrible in the first one.
I think, he actually kind of made out because he probably would have come in as a supporting character and been killed. Yeah. More than likely. You know, just like Mako. Maybe. But now he can come back in the third one as the main hero.
Yeah.
Booyah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't care.
Yeah, don't care.
So anyway, the three creatures pop up. They're heading to Tokyo. Well, they're heading to Mount Fuji.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay. And then the whole thing is, we need to stop them. But we can't get there fast enough. So we're going to build rockets and fix Jaegers and have the kids pilot them. Because there's no backup pilots. Whatever. And then they make their booster rockets and fly off into the atmosphere. And then I thought it was interesting because it's like they blew them into the atmosphere, but they didn't really kind of address the problem and how they're going to land and not just die instantly.
Yeah, we're just going to launch them.
It just shows them just touching down. Poof, hey,
it's so funny.
We're here.
All right.
That was kind of, that was whatever.
But
the action montage of the fixing and the parts and the labor and in 2 hours we got all this fixed. Yeah, cool. Head up by the adolescent girl who learned everything in a junkyard.
Yeah, exactly. Somehow, and then they tried to recreate that scene in the first one with Mako as a little girl. When Idris Elba's character finds her, and that's a really, really great scene in the first movie, but they kind of try to recreate it at the Santa Monica Pier with her parents, and then her parents just die the most hilarious death I've ever seen. Just get stomped on by a kaiju. That was, I almost laughed out loud.
Jump, you'll make it. Squish.
Boom.
Damn. That sucks.
It was almost comical. It was really just not serious at all.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun time. Fun time at the pier. But anyway, for some reason, this one, Jaeger needs 3 pilots. So they kind of...
But not really.
Not really at all.
The third pilot's just basically a support. Is there to
to shoot another gun.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Which I thought was interesting, but okay. Whatever.
Anyway, that last scene though, the last scene with the 3 kaiju versus the 4 Jaeger, big kind of action fest. I actually really
bad.
I like the just the ridiculousness of all of it, just to a point, because I was thinking, this is just a kind of a bigger budget Power Rangers. I remember watching this exact thing when I was a kid, on TV. This is just Power Rangers.
Yeah, it was really
and it's
bad.
almost as cheesy, or as cheesy as that, just with better CGI.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the 3 kaiju turn into one big kaiju.
Because
and they can't.
Dr. Newton sends out
these robot things.
It didn't even really.
Didn't even explain it.
They looked like little crabs or something. He just sends out all these little...
You know what they look like?
They look like nanobots.
Well, they look like the things from the Matrix. The big
the squiddies.
Yeah, they kind of reminded me of because they're kind of mechanical and they're kind of moving
they belch out from the building.
Yeah,
they go so they go down the street, split and go around the other guys, and then converge on the 3 kaiju to squish it together and make Megadeth kaiju.
Yeah, a very Power Ranger moment.
I was like, okay.
So you can't defeat 3 kaiju, but you're gonna defeat 1. You basically just made it, even though it's just bigger. You made it kind of easier because it's just 1. And then we get to the actual. So some of them die.
Yeah.
Which
boo-hoo.
But the very end where the kaiju is like climbing up Mount Fuji, which he's already at Mount Fuji.
Yeah. Like he's almost at the rim.
You're almost. So anyway, they get a rocket and they're like, all right, we're gonna launch ourselves onto the kaiju and kill it that way, because we can't kill it any other way.
Yeah,
we're basically just gonna use ourselves
as a big missile,
and also we're gonna eject ourselves and just kind of see what happens. And then it happens, and I'm the whole time they're falling, I'm like, wait, isn't this the whole point of this is to not have the kaiju blood react to the earth elements?
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing this, aren't you just gonna
blow it up,
the thing up, and isn't it just gonna like basically explode, and all of its blood is gonna be all over Mount Fuji, and then everything that like it? I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
So you're just gonna hit?
It didn't make any sense.
You're gonna hit it really hard, and then it's gonna knock it out.
Yeah. But I think
which happened.
I think the logistics of it is because he had to be in the volcano. He had to get into the volcano, and that's what they killed him on the rim.
Stew in there.
They killed him right on the rim. That's why it's Pacific Rim. That's another rim. Can I do another rim reference? You know, because it's not inside, it doesn't count. The rim is safe.
It wasn't in, it was just around.
Around, so it didn't count, you know.
It got a little messy at the end.
Of course it did.
Yeah, it didn't.
Oh, anywho.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, and also, it ended so abruptly. Like, Scott Eastwood kind of punches Charlie Day's character, gets on the roof, punches him. And also, meanwhile, during the whole fight, Charlie Day's like cheering the kaiju on, which I thought was so dumb. He was like, no, yeah, no. Just like, this is absolutely just Power Rangers. But then he gets caught at the end, and then John Boyega and Amara, they're just on the side of the mountain next to this big dead kaiju, and that's bleeding everywhere
on the rim.
On the rim. And then they're just like, all right, well, we're done. Have a snowball fight.
Yeah.
Pacific Rim Uprising. Like, wait, that was the
Snow
end?
Angels and snowballs. Yeah.
Like, that was really the end?
It, yeah.
What?
But Newton had a plan B, so hopefully we'll discover that in Pacific Rim 3.
Charlie Day's back.
Charlie Day's revenge. The return of Dr. Newton. Newton's revenge. There we go.
Whatever.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean, it was fun.
Oh, we talked way too much about this.
Yeah, we did. Well, there's a lot of... It's fun to talk way too much about something so bad.
It's fun to laugh at, but...
It's fun to laugh at. I had fun. I enjoyed it. I mean, the last act, the last fight, I mean, the whole thing was just bad. And the rocket and... You know,
also everything leading up to it.
The only thing I liked about the last part was the scrapper robot.
Yeah, he comes
just rolling in and just juking and diving around. I was like, that robot's legit.
Like, he comes in and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna weld this rocket to you real quick. Like, it's like, so we have like a pit stop type of thing. Yeah. Like, all right then. So it was kind of another cartoonish kind of way of doing it, which was I thought was interesting.
But they can be piloted by a single person.
And it was funny, yeah.
So why wouldn't you just make a whole army of these smaller robots and give them, you know, they wouldn't have as many mega weapons, but I mean, could just...
Well, I mean, because you have the huge Jaegers, as you saw in the beginning, that just like took Scrapper out. It was just like, hey, stop. No? Okay. Yeah. And then just like took him out. So because there are those bigger Jaegers in the world, those little ones are just kind of, even if they can
combine together.
But then you're just gonna get into more like, you know, every other robot giant fighting movie.
True.
There's not a whole lot you can do in this kind of subgenre, so.
But fun to watch, guilty pleasure. You know,
get some popcorn.
Enjoy yourself. Yeah. Have a great afternoon enjoying some big robot fights.
Yeah,
that's about all I can say about it.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, that is it. What's up for next week? It's a Ready Player One.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Okay. So Ready Player One is.
I have like 15 things I'm watching right now, so I'm just like pulled in all these different directions, and I still have to. I have to find time to blow through season 1 of Westworld again because I want to refresh myself for season 2.
Oh, okay.
Which is coming out very soon.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, super guilty pleasure.
Legion is coming on like this week or next week, April 3rd.
Oh, awesome! That's right. One more thing.
Just one more thing for you. And I'm on episode 6 of the first season, and it is absolutely bonkers. Like I knew it was this way because I had seen a little bit before, but now I'm on episode 6 and it's so enjoyable, but it's so weird, and I can't wait to finish the season and just in time for the second season to come back. So I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. And then Ready Player One this week. Probably just another popcorn movie, but we'll see. We'll see if it holds up to that Steven Spielberg kind of adventure name.
Yeah, it's been getting some good reviews, so we'll see. Right, everybody, have a great day.
We will see you next week, and thanks for listening.
Enjoy the show.
Bye. Thank you all so much for listening to Post Production Podcast. If you'd like to reach the show, you can email us any questions or comments at postproductionpod@gmail.com.
You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram. All those links are in the description below.
And if you like this podcast, hit that subscribe button and let us know by leaving a rating and review on iTunes. We would really appreciate it. See you guys next time.